Hello everyone, welcome to Mind Over Mess. This is me, your host Shiva, with you. And today we are joined by another incredible guest with us. Welcome Palak Prajapati. Hello Palak, welcome to the show.
Hello, thank you so much, Shiva, for the nice introduction. And I'm very excited to be in the show.
Me too. May you please introduce yourself? Guys, it's a bit interesting concept because she is a medical engineer. Something to do with medicine and engineering. Yes, let's find out. Palak, would you like to tell more about us? About it today?
Yes. So, to all the people who are listening this, I'll first of all give an overview of my educational background and why and what made me choose this. So, I completed biomedical engineering from GPU and I scored around 9 CGPA, which was among the highest of my batches. So, what is biomedical engineering and what subjects do you study? What type of subjects are required so that you could pursue this degree? What are the paths ahead? I would be discussing that. So, first of all, you need to have lots of curiosity, just like Shiva here. Second is so biomedical engineering is a field which is a blend. It requires the knowledge of human anatomy, it requires the knowledge of mechanical engineering, mechanics, physics. So I'll give you an example. So you must have seen this MRI machines and CT scan machines in big hospitals. So when you see them, you feel like, oh my god, this machine occupies an entire room. It's so big, it's so huge. There is no appliance like in normal everyday life that we use that requires so much space. It's like 1960s when computers were invented. Takes the whole room. So these equipments are so critical and so complex at the same time, right? They are at the interplay between human lives and technology. So it's just technology which is making lives better, which is helping them for diagnosis. So all of these big technologies are not made by one single person. They require a lot of people. They require research, they require development, they require mechanical engineers who would fit all parts in a computer design, and then they would require biomedical engineers who would verify everything that yes, the safety parameters are perfect. Because you imagine that the chemical reactions, the nuclear reactions. There is also nuclear reaction machine, the FET scans, PT scans, X-rays. All of these are sometimes only allowed up to certain limits. So you also have to ensure that the machine does not cross that line. So all of these regulations, this is also a part of biomedical engineering that you have to study. You need to ensure safety. Safety is your first and foremost obligation, and based on safety, you're required to study all the global standards. You must have heard of FDA, that there is this FDA approved device, this FDA approved drug. FD is very famous, right? So you also get to learn about how to get a device FDA approved, which is also an interesting field together. It's called regulatory affairs. That is a possible field after biomedical engineering degree. So speaking of regulatory, a fun news that recently came across that I recently came across is that we now have pills for the injections. You must have heard of Ozempic. It was very much in the news. Weight loss drug. A lot of celebs took that. Ozempic.
I recently saw another post on that.
Yes, yes. So Wegovy has launched a pill and it got an FDA approved approval. So people who do all of these approvals, they're also like there is also a field and it's very highly paid. So that is one thing. Secondary, there are device related FDA approvals. Like there is a device which now can be implanted instead of a kidney to do the dialysis. So it is a small device. So you must have seen dialysis device used to be very big, like 40 kg big devices. Now you can implant. in a 400-gram device. So that is like rapidly advancing. Talking about the opportunity, so there are four main sectors you could go to. So the first is, as I mentioned, regulatory affairs, which covers FD approvals, WHO, ISO approvals, and everything. Second is service. Service sector is also very critical because you have to examine the CT scan, MRI, all those machines wherever they're installed. You have to check them, repair them. All of that comes in the service. Third is hospitals. You work directly in surgeries. You assist doctors in making them understand the device, in helping them use everything correctly. And the fourth is research and development. We work in big medical tech company. Type.
Palak, sorry to interrupt you, but I was curious, like if someone is in 11th grade and watching this, and should they go for PCMB or PCM?
Yeah, this is a good question. So, my batch was actually very unique because in that duration we had both PCM and PCB students. So if there are, let's say, medical students who are very unsure if they really want to pursue a graduation in medical domain, and they are more tech enthusiasts, they like building things, they are more into learn coding and stuff like that, and they're like, oh, maybe medical is not not for me. It excites me a lot because they have an active interest in biology in medical studies, but they're also good at problem solving and mathematics. So this makes a good fit. So people who have PCM are already eligible for JEE, and through JEE you can get into IIT Madras, IIT Hyderabad, and IIT Raipur, which offer biomedical engineering degrees in bachelor's. If there is someone who wants to seriously pursue this line, then I wouldn't recommend to do it in a bachelor's. I would recommend to do biomedical engineering in a master's degree course. Reason being is that big tech companies often look for a particular specific skill. Like, do you want to go into research into building the software part of the device or building the hardware part of the device? If you want to build the hardware part of the device, you should have a bachelor in electronics. If you're looking to build the software part of the device, you should maybe have a bachelor in computer science. That is preferred. PCB graduates should not be demoralized that JE is the only way to go into biomedical engineering. There are also local colleges, state level colleges, that offer biomedical engineering to PCB graduates, but they will have to look and ask those colleges. For example, GCLD, Ahmedabad and Gujarat colleges, they do offer biomedical engineering for PCB graduates. I'm not so sure about Maharashtra, Punjab. There are colleges in Delhi and Haryana which also offer biomedical engineering for PCB graduates.
That made me think one more thing, like for the students who feel like torn between engineering and medicine, and what kind of mindset or skills they should start developing when they want to work in such kind of hybrid space, because it's more like a hybrid and you don't know both the things.
Yeah, so for students who are in 11th, the advice I would, like if they're watching 11th, 12th students, the advice I would give them is aim for the best college. Um, and if you're like learning to build skills, then I would recommend them to try out coding, try out how coding works for them, because medical coding fields are not medical billing coding, but the medical software coding. For example, the X-ray scanning, image analysis. So you must have heard there are three recent startups, Indian startups. I like there is this the Heal AI and the other one I'm not remembering name. But what they are working on is they are making a database of all the X-ray, CT scan, and MRI machines. They're training that on AI, and they would like help. That would help AI uh, recognize different types of diseases by that scan. build some projects. There is a very good site called Kaggle, KAGGLE.in, where you can participate in such great contests about data processing AI. And there are also project build project. I would suggest them to build projects. Look if you are actually interested in it, and don't randomly select a course. And if you really are very excited about it, I would still recommend to them to choose between hardware or software.
Means they do have scope, but it's much better if you are a biomedical engineer.
Yeah.
I saw your post on, like, I believe cardiac rhythm, something to do with pacemaker. The only pacemaker I know
Yes,
is
yes.
no actual node, SA node apart, but here we're definitely talking about artificial pacemakers. And I think it was
Yes.
your speaking session, I think in GEC Gandhinagar, Gujarat, if I'm not wrong. So
Yes, yes,
to
yes.
tell us more about that, what it was, and what this pacemaker thing has to do with biomedical engineering and how it's even related.
Okay, so starting with my introduction in the job space. So I was associated with Biotronic. Biotronic is a German pacemaker company. So what they do is that they develop pacemakers. The pacemakers are developed in Germany, and they have different types of pacemakers for different heart conditions. For example, you must be aware that heart has four chambers, right? There is upper chambers and then there are lower chambers. Upper chambers are called atria and the lower chambers are called the ventricles. So we have like a dual chamber which works for both the atria and the ventricle. We have single chamber which works for only the ventricle or only the atria. So a lot of anatomical knowledge is required to understand all of these terms. So I would give a brief of the pacemaker industry. So the pacemaker industry works on heart related diseases, like quite literally the heart. And heart related diseases involve ECG analysis. It involves a lot of patients who are having problems with their day to day activities, like they are not able to walk properly, they are not able to breathe properly, they are feeling breathless, and all of this happens because there is an electrical system in heart which slows down as you age. So the first factor is definitely age. Second is lifestyle factors. If you like smoke a lot, drink a lot, are involved in bad habits, that also affects your heart. Third is genetic factor. If your genetics and in your heart is not properly developed. So as you mentioned, you have very clearly SA node of the heart, which is the natural pacemaker. If there are problems with the SA node, then also there are people who really require and depend on pacemakers. I have seen patients who have 100% pacemaker dependency. So I believe it's truly a life saving intervention. And a lot of people live more than 10 to 15 years because of the invention of this device. So being in that field, looking at real patients, dealing with surgeries, talking to doctors. This was the day to day routine which was involved. Moreover, it also involved understanding the complications of other diseases. For example, if there is someone who has hypertension and diabetes along with a heart disease, so you need to understand how everything would complicate it or how would everything interplay. So that understanding that also helped me a lot to survive in that field. And to talk more about pacemakers, other than Biotronic, there are four more companies. There is Abbott. Then there is Medtronic. Medtronic is a very famous one. It has 51% of the market share, and it's a US based company. Abbott is also a US based company. Third comes Boston Scientific, also pronounced as Boston Scientific. So Boston Scientific, again a US company. It is also very active in the pacemaker field. Fourth is Merrill or Pastronic. It is a local Indian company. but it faces a lot of challenges. It does not um, is not it does not have a proper reach in the Indian market, and it has a lot of security safety issues. So looking at these are the main four companies, and people often switch between these four companies if they're in this field. Other than this field, the roles that you play are one, clinical application specialist or the field clinical specialist, which is also sometimes known as clinical specialist. I worked as a clinical specialist in Medtronic, and it requires you to understand in depth the technical details of how a pacemaker works, how to tweak it. So you need to program it. So, when you are changing the rotator of your fan, and the speed of the fan slows down, and you can like increase the speed of the fan. So things like that, you can also make little tweaks and changes in the pacemaker so that it works for the person. And everyone is built different, right? Shiva, you and me, we might look like, okay, same aged female girls, but our functioning, our thoughts, our heart are beating at very different speeds. So even if there is a 70-year-old female with the same weight, they would require different pacemakers. They would require different settings based on their everyday life. What if they are, let's say, walking 5 kilometers a day, and what if they are like doing bhajans and aartis at different temples? So they would have different lifestyles. So if there is someone with an active lifestyle, you would require them to have a higher heart rate. So all of these things need to be programmed. You need to have conversations with the patient. So if you're someone who loves to help other people, if you're someone who loves to solve problems, it is a wonderful field. You get to meet 4 to 5 people every day, new people. So if you're someone who's an instant chatter, who's like, oh, you're good with making people feel more comfortable, you would love what you do. And one major, I wouldn't say drawback, but one major challenge that comes along with working as a clinical specialist is that extensive travel is definitely required. You will have to go from hospital to hospital. You will have to travel a lot, but that is also very exciting because you get to see very different hospitals all the time. In some cases, you're also required to travel to cities like Udaipur, Jaipur, whatever the territory allotted to you is. So extend if you're someone who loves traveling, who's like, oh, I want to go this place. Maybe the next week you are in some other place. So this definitely is a good field for you because the travel allowances are also there by the company. So is something to look forward if there is someone who loves travel. Uh, my professor, Professor Molinder Patel, he was in Philips. He was a um, service engineer for MRI devices in Philips, and he was allotted all of India. So he was one day in Cochin, second day in Ahmedabad, third day in um some other city. So there was a lot of travel missing involved. So that is definitely, but you have to learn a lot. There is a lot of learning. It's endless learning. You have to keep learning every day. So if you're also someone who's like, I want to learn new things every day, this is it. This is it for you. It will require constant upgradation. But if you're someone who wants to just complete a degree, just get a, a certain amount of knowledge and keep going, not learn new things, then it's very tough to survive because you have to keep upgrading yourself. The companies that I mentioned about St. Jude, Medtronic, Biotronic, Boston Scientific, they all have their own technical, skill-based training programs. But it is also up to you how much you implement that training into your work life, because it's learning and looking at ECG patterns is a very different thing than actually looking them in a surgery on a monitor and then making that decision, oh, should I click this button or should I click that button? So what I realize is you should be a very quick decision maker. If you, it is also a soft skill that you need to learn to make good decisions, because making good decisions is what helps survive this field.
But how much biomedical engineers earn? People want to know that. They definitely
Yeah, there's ARR keeper.
packages. You may tell us.
Okay, yes. Okay. So, my talking about my batchmates, 50, almost all of them are doing some or the other job. They may not the best one. Talking about GC Gandhinagar, our highest package is 4 lakhs per annum, which is kind of so the field in India is a little underdeveloped because the companies that, I mean, you must have heard that US and Germany are the leading countries in the medtech field. So the problem is not the lack of jobs. There are a lot of job opportunities. But if you're someone who's like, no, I would not work if I don't get 12 LPA. So maybe you would be unsatisfied with the biomedical field. So it is not a very high paying field, but it is a high satisfaction field. So you would love, you would be helping people. Your impact score is really high. If you're a person who wants to make your life feel more meaningful, then the biomedical engineering and the clinical specialist trajectory is very good for you. So I would talk about myself a little here, not to post, but when I was in 11th and 12th, I read about this article that there was this guy who graduated from IIM, IIT, and had a very good life, stable life, had a family, but then he still committed suicide. So it got me thinking that if a person who has like everything in his life, has a good job, has an amazing salary, but is not feeling that life has a meaning, and he's not contributing to the society, if he feels, or if you feel that you're not satisfied, you're not doing what you should be, your work has no meaning, if you're just a clerk on a computer screen just typing things that could be typed by an AI, it will make you feel a little hollow. But if you're working in this field, it does not make you feel hollow. It gives you more energy, it gives you more purpose. You wake up every day and think that someone's life depends on me. So that is a big responsibility. And then when you own up to that responsibility, you understand the importance of this job. So it definitely makes you feel a lot important. But yes, the main question was the package. So, most packages in this field range to about 3 LPA to 7 to 8 LPA. But with experience, you definitely can earn more. If earning money is your sole purpose, then you should shift to the sales side. Like maybe do an MBA after biomedical engineering. If you shift to the product side of this, or the sales side of it, which involves selling good medical products, if you're someone who can build a good rapport with doctors, if you're like very charming and you can like talk to doctors and a lot of hospital staff, and deal uh, you can make good deals because medical devices cost in crores. Very sad. But because of their high cost, it's very, very hard to tell them. And because of this, the salespeople who are into medical sales, like medical equipment sales specifically, they have a huge earning potential. So I would talk about the field of pacemakers. We have product managers, we have sales specialists, we have territory managers, and they earn good. They earn 12 to 24 LP. So if that is something you're very much excited about, you can go pivot into sales. And so like the outcomes of this degree can range anywhere between 3 LPA, which is 3 lakh per annum, to even a crore if if uh, if you are at the right place at the right time doing the right thing. So that is very important, that you are working and you're looking out for what you are good in, and there is a match, right? Things that you're good in, things that the corporate wants. If it's a match, it will help you grow. If it's not a match, it will make you suffer both. And you might get a FOMO looking at other people's salary, like, oh, she got a 26 LPA package and I'm still stuck at full. Stuff like that can happen in this field. So if you're someone who has a family financial crisis, or if earning money is your first priority, then maybe this field is not for you. But it has very less competition. The plus point is you'll never be jobless. You're not easily replaceable. You can easily find new opportunities because there are very less people in this field. As I'm talking, uh, the GATE biomedical exam for masters, only 5,000 people appear for it compared to 10 lakh total people appearing for GATE. So it is the lowest lowest number of students ever appearing for like a particular degree. The abroad aspects. Let me get into it. If you're looking to go abroad, this is a good field. A friend of mine has this guru. He considers himself his senior a guru. He is shifting to New Zealand and he has a great 2 crore package in New Zealand as a biomedical engineer in a hospital, senior biomedical engineer. So there are things like that too. A lot of people also pivot in medical management, and that is also a very high paid job. So if good payment is uh, your goal, you could divert from there from an MBA.
So more like it's a satisfaction, rich, like satisfaction level will be high. But when it comes to money, you should go for MBA if you really want just money. Either you can also, I think, go for entrepreneurship or some business and stuff. People do make business and cross paddocks and stuff like that. So thank you so much for your
Yeah,
time, Falak. That was such an insightful discussion, and I'm so happy to have you as my guest. Thank you so much for coming to the show.
it was lovely talking to you, Shiva.